everywhere.
This is going live, man. We live now, man. We definitely
We
live,
live,
and
baby.
I'm gonna go ahead and share this too as well in my
Right.
community right now. Let them know that we're live. That way, people can watch it.
No
Definitely
doubt.
had to put you on here. If anybody is joining right now and you're not familiar with who you have on your screen, I go by Excalibur Zero. I help musicians create a full time or even side hustle stream of revenue through sync licensing, utilizing that back end stream of revenue. And then we also have my man Plan B85, aka Brandon.
So,
Here, I came across him on TikTok, and I feel like he has a lot of valuable information to share. So I had to put him on here. I've definitely been learning from his content, and I feel like a lot of people in the community that we've built over here on this channel can definitely learn from this. So what we're going to do today is interview him, and then hopefully, if I learn how to use this new system, I'm using StreamYard right now. Hopefully, be able to have people ask questions live, and then
well,
you kind of answer them. So super hyped to have you on board. I see some people already joining. We got my boy Marlon on deck. We got
fire,
James Blonde.
fire.
So I'm super hyped to have you on here. Thank you, man. I appreciate you coming on here. And let's give you everybody an intro to who you are and kind of how you got started within sync licensing.
Word up, man. Yo, first off, I appreciate you for having me, man. It's a long time coming, man. You quick on it too. You was like, hey, can we do this day? Oh yeah, we got it. I know I was being a little finicky on the back and forth, but we got it. We here now.
Hey,
We
no
here.
problem, man. I was at
Um,
I was at university yesterday, so I'm glad you had patience for me because I'm like discombobulated this morning a little bit. So I appreciate your patience.
That's dope. That's dope. My name is Brandon Plan B. I'm a music producer, sound designer, engineer, music composer for television and film. I've been in the sync world for about 8 years, but I have been producing God, for at least 20 years now, man. To say
Mm,
it like it's been a while. 10, maybe 15 of those professionally. Everything else was earning my leisure at the time, trying to earn my leisure at the time. But like many people who somewhat get started in this, especially now, I started with a music library. You know what I'm saying?
mm.
That's how I got in. And that story, we can chop it up in bits and pieces, but there's like that particular story is where I really got my start into sync licensing. I ran into a gentleman who was the licensing coordinator at a music library, and we got really cool with each other, and it's been on the up and up since then.
Dope,
So,
man. And I kind of wanted to pick your brain about that a little bit because I
mm.
heard from obviously stud you. I gotta get research on you and figure out a little bit more about your story and stuff like that. And I see you have your website set up with your whole about me, like your whole story behind that. And then also I heard you on Anthony Clint on his uh interview with you, and he said, and you said that there was a networking event that you kind of got on.
Mhm.
That's how you kind of met him, right?
Yeah.
The library on.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I wanted to it was crazy. I was just talking with my wife about this, and there's not a lot of networking events like this. This was pre-pandemic, when I was running around New York, and I was going to every single networking event I could find. This one in particular was specific to sync agents, music libraries. You know what I mean? Like there weren't really too many people like myself in the building as far as like composers and artists are concerned. So,
Right.
looking back on that night, I kind of got lucky. But he was the last person that I met that night. I was leaving the bathroom, I was getting my coat, and I was about to leave, and he stopped me and he was like, "Hey, what do what's your name? What do you do? My name is dot dot dot. Our company does this, that, and the third." He gave me his card. And I sat on it for maybe like a day, but I ended up going home doing a little bit of research, and I was like, "Oh, this might be something." And I sent them a couple tracks. I sent them maybe like 5, maybe 10 joints just for him to listen to. And then they asked me for more. And I was like, how much more? And they were like, how much you got? And I tell people the story, like I flooded them with almost 200 tracks
Sheesh.
within the first month.
Damn.
Yeah. So, and of those 275 were placed within the first 30 to 60 days.
That's crazy, man. And that's
Yeah.
very, very unique.
Yeah.
And coming just a couple of points you made there that I kind of want to tap into because I feel like there's a lot of valuable information, which is why I'm hyped to get you on here
Yeah.
because I feel like a lot of people are going to start learning. One, the fact that you were going to these networking events, especially there's not a lot of diversity. I feel like back then, especially with these type
No,
of events. So
not at
props to
all.
you for having the confidence to putting yourself out there and making those connections in person, because
Mhm.
there's something a lot deeper when you make these connections in person and kind of
That's what's
just get
up.
to pick people's brains and just learn a little bit about them outside of just what they do in the industry, but also who they are as a person, and kind of get a vibe off their personality. And I
Yeah.
want to kind of ask you, how do you find these networking events, and how do you kind of approach these networking events when you go
Mhm.
there?
Okay. So that was maybe one of three that I've been to sync wise within like the last within like the last 7 or 8 years. Um my I don't want I can say this. So my wife, she used to work for BMI back in the day,
Oh, okay, okay.
right?
Oh, dope.
And we kind of built this network. She had like her own little network of people, and I had kind of built my network of people. And it would be just kind of like events flying around. But
Mm,
on her side, she was more so on the television and film side. So, and she was also an aspiring music supervisor at the time too. So, um, and a music supervisor now. So,
that's dope.
yeah, she, kind of, passed that to me. I was actually her plus one for that particular event. And as time went on, I started finding other people who had, were putting on these events when they were putting them on. And actually the same gentleman, oh God, I wish I remembered his name, who put on the very first event that I went to about a year ago. He did another event. And I actually flew from Atlanta to New York just to be there for that event.
Oh,
You know
damn.
what I'm
Okay.
saying? So I made the sacrifice. I met a few people there. I actually met a new gentleman who has another uh, music library or sync company or whatever. When I actually went back for that event, so it was worth the trip. You know what I mean? Because I
Right.
probably wouldn't have met him here in Atlanta. Because unfortunately down here it's not um, there's not a lot of events like that are specifically catered to sync. There's a bunch of music industry events, of course, but something where the music libraries, some of the music supervisors and some of the sync agents are really coming to powwow and really talk to, really build some kind of connections. Is not really that much here in Atlanta specifically. I wish there was,
Yeah, for sure,
but
man.
it's more
100%.
panels and everything going on than anything, but not really, hey, let's grab a drink and let's actually talk. That's really what those events are. Like there's nothing else to do but drink and talk to people. That's it.
Right, right. For sure, man. I went to NAM, and we got put on by the homie the Fingers, and he had the day
Shout out to him.
before we met up with everybody. There was like a little networking event that was private, and just
Mhm.
being it's been a while since I like been in that situation where I was networking. I did it before COVID when I was working
Yes.
for a music library, but when I got put back into that situation, I realized the power of just being able to communicate and just be able to like just chop it up about just different things. Like you really get a sense of how that person is. Like you really
Yes. Yes.
you build that connection there. So
We really
that's
do.
something I definitely preach on. I'm glad that I'm seeing like more people starting to build these events, especially like, I see like Clint and Jay Will
Mhm.
starting to put something together and
Yes.
stuff like that, which
Yes.
I love, and especially by introducing diversity, because there's not a lot of
Yes.
diversity going on in this situation, man. And I'm glad to see
Not a lot of us.
yeah, more people coming up front about it and just, calling it out and just kind of putting these events together to really build a bigger network, because there's a lot of talent out there that's just not limited to one type of person. So there's
Mhm.
I'm glad that, I feel like the hip hop and R&B and like even like almost the EDM side of the wave for sync for artists who were like and producers who are super talented is very late to sing. Like the old
Yes.
heads, like the rock dudes and the orchestra guys, they all knew about this lane before.
Yeah, they've
And
been on
yeah,
it.
exactly. And that's
Yeah.
why I feel like we get a stigma that like sync licensing is gate kept, which is why I
Yeah.
appreciate you taking your knowledge and putting it on, these different platforms to share it, man. So I
Mhm.
want to get into a next question was
All right, cut out. Hold on, it's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. Give it a second. Be patient. It's gonna come back. Oh man. Oh no. Come on, baby. What happened? Ah, damn. Oh, it's coming back. He coming back. He coming back. See, all ain't lost. I'm glad I ain't leave. That's how you know the conversation getting good when stuff like this happens. All right, this little hiccup is brought to you by Eternal Water, Natural Spring. It's coming back. It is coming back. Come on, come on. It's a live show. The show must go on. It's a little circly ball.
We back? I think we got it back.
We got it back.
Yeah, man. I don't know what's going on with this, man.
Nah, I literally just emailed you. I was like, "Did you want to switch?" Nah, but we good. We here. We here.
Nah, yeah, we're still here. We have people in the chat too asking you questions as well. They can still see you, but they couldn't see me.
Oh, okay. I couldn't even see the questions. I can't. Well, you probably can see them because you're the host. But
they should be on YouTube if you want to pull up YouTube, just in case this happens again. Hopefully, it doesn't, man. I don't know why it played me like that.
I didn't know we was live on YouTube. Y'all ain't say we was on the tube.
Oh yeah, we're on the YouTube, man. My bad. Yeah, we're on the YouTube. We got a lot of people in here. We got X.E.L.O. We got James Blonde. We got Flown.
Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody.
Marlon in here.
All right, I'm subscribed. I'm subscribed now. I see you live, baby. I see you.
Oh yeah, we in here.
All right.
All right. So the question I had before it so rudely interrupted me was in an interview with Clint, you actually mentioned that you got into a library when they had less than 1,000 tracks, and that you had controlled about 60, and they told you had controlled about 60% of hip hop within their catalog. Yes. Can you talk about the importance of being a person who's the go-to person of your sound? Because I preach on this, and that is how you really, like, if you want to take off and take over this industry, that's how you take over. Is like you understand that there's a lane that you can fit in. You got to be that go-to person for your sound. So can you kind of elaborate on that and talk about that?
That's a fact. And I can't even remember. I try to go back in my memory bank and try to find out exactly how I found out that they didn't have as many tracks as me. And now that I'm thinking about it, remember what is it called? Audio Source?
Source Audio.
Source Audio. That's what it's called. So they had, when I first started, really kind of just learning the system and everything like that, I happened to stumble into like their entire library, right? And I'm like, wait a minute. I went and I typed in my name and I saw all the tracks that came up. And this is when I like first started. And I was like, oh, snap. they don't have that much music. Like I have just as much, if not more music than them. You know what I'm saying? So at first I was just dumping them with a bunch of hip hop stuff. And then after a while, I started mixing it up. I threw some pop tracks in there. You know, I would throw like, you know, what I thought they might like in there. But after some time, it was like, yo, just give them strictly hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Don't even try to experiment. Give them nothing but hip hop. And that's what I did. And I was at one point I was sending them at least 30, maybe 30 to 40 tracks a quarter. After that, just staying consistent for maybe like a year or two or something like that. And then after some time, I was like, you know what, they're placing a lot of stuff. Let's just let it rock. You know what
Right.
I'm saying, and see what happens. And it's been nonstop since then, if I'm being honest. So much so, and this is going off on a little bit of a tangent, but I got so good at delivering so many tracks at high volume that they would have me build music libraries for other companies like Viacom specifically. Like they would have me build libraries for the direct network. So like Viacom, they paid me out X amount of dollars for certain tracks. And let me tell you guys right now, they are still paying me for those tracks now. Like 8 years ago, the tracks I sold to them 8 years ago, they're still on my statements from this past quarter. So that's another avenue that I figured out later on down the road. I was like, wait a minute, now I can actually start building I have so much music even now that I can start building my own catalogs with other networks directly instead of having to do that through a music library. So
Yeah, bro,
yeah,
you just tapped into so many gems right there. Like if I understand what you're saying right now. Like
yeah,
one, he talked about Source Audio. If you go on Source Audio right now and you look at their clients,
yeah,
there's tons of different libraries on there. Not every single company is a library. There may be some
yeah,
networks, but you can easily research these companies off their client base, and they always post too in their emails. If you sign up with their newsletter, who are the new libraries they sign onto their platform? One,
yeah,
he did the research on the library that he was signed up with, looked at their catalog, saw, oh snap, they're missing this sound. Then he had I guess the intuition to know I could be versatile and kind of work on a lot of different things. But no, I'm the leader in this lane right here. So he just really tapped into it. And then another layer that I want to unpack is that you talked about Viacom and you talked
yeah,
about being they have custom libraries. So
yes,
Viacom has their own Source Audio, and
they
when
sure do.
you when Viacom has every quarter, Viacom kind of has a package where they're looking for new sounds to keep current and fresh because they have a young audience. They want to keep current. They want to keep that flow going with their audience and their client base, right? So they'll order out tracks, and he was the go-to person for that sound. So he built he's built such a name for himself within that library that he started to get other opportunities that led him to be able to create in other different libraries that are sub-published or partnered up with those libraries. So those are hella gems right there. I've done stuff too as well. Custom
Word.
work for Viacom. You're 100% right, man. They pay out
Yeah,
really well. Like
they really
there's
do.
a lot of power in doing that. So
There really is, and like I said, I've seen a whole nother lane with it even now because I'm like, if they're still using 8-year-old music, then I know they need more. You know what I'm saying? Because ain't like their content about to die in 10 years. You know what I'm saying?
right.
They got a whole nother generation to do this. So, you know,
Love to hear it, man. And then
you
so
gotta think
this
about it
let's
like that.
you finding
Yeah.
success with your tracks. It's hard to find success with tracks with sync if you're first starting out. How did you kind of figure out how long
Yeah.
your track should be or what kind of structure you should have? How do you approach your music when it comes to sync licensing?
All right. So when I first got in, I had to learn how to structure my music. Keep in mind, I sent them 200 joints off rip. Keep in mind, I'm sending you 200 joints with they're 3 minutes long. Just like if I were to structure them for a hip hop artist, three
Mm,
verses, two hooks, all that. It was just it was ridiculous. So of course I got all the notes would start flowing in. After I would send a whole brand new batch of tracks, it would be, cut this down to a minute 30, cut this down to 2 minutes, end on a stab ending, cut the intro. You know what I mean? It took me a few months to really get it right because I'd be like, oh, they just asking for this for whatever. But no, this is how. Like when I went back and like I was like, oh, these are the joints that are getting placed that are structured this kind of way. You know what I mean? So it was just like after some time I perfected it. It was like this is the only thing I'm gonna hit them with. This is the only strong structure I'm gonna, like it just I became a robot with it. Like,
mm,
you know, And so any time I would make beats, if you know, even if I was pitching them to an artist, I would always make another, you know, make another mix or do another edit where it's strictly for television and film. You know what I'm saying? It's a
Genius,
minute and a
man.
half long, you know what I'm saying, 2 minute long, whatever. So I could be pitching this over here and pitching that over there. And whoever picks it first, up, hey, you can't have it no more. Viacom got it now, who whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I ain't waste no time with it. I didn't waste any time with it. And then it took me away from working with artists for some time too, because then it was just like, okay, now I'm strictly focusing on television and film for maybe 2 or 3 years straight. I only worked with maybe 1 or 2 artists. I wasn't working with a bunch of people. It was just those 2 artists and TV and film. That was it.
Which is wild because we didn't even really tap in. I remember hearing from Clint's interview is that you actually had a good network of artists that you were working with that kind of
Oh
had
yeah.
their own like publishing deals going on and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear that.
Oh, don't say we cut out again. Oh, I did it again. And my Wi-Fi is 100. Oh, we dropped again.